So you are preparing for the most important step of your life, moving to Finland. And the media says, happiest country in the world, so what could go wrong? Sounds like the perfect place to live. But sorry to tell you, that's only half of the truth. And if you come here unprepared, you could be on your way to depression, unemployment, and solitude. And not just you, but your family members as well. But don't worry, because I'm here to help you once again. So I'm gonna cover 12 different aspects of living in Finland, ranging from social security, raising a family, finding a job, finding friends, and more. Plus, I'm gonna list the pros and cons for each and give a tier ranking from S tier to shit tier based on my authentic opinion. Plus, I will also tell you how each of these will affect your life in Finland, so good stuff coming up. First of all, let's talk about safety and start with the pros. So first of all, the traffic in Finland. I think the Finnish traffic is super safe. The drivers don't drive recklessly, they respect the traffic rules, and also these huge congestions don't really happen. So I think from the traffic perspective, very safe country. Also, in my opinion, we don't really have that much petty crimes, so like thefts and carjackings and these kind of things, not really a thing here in the everyday life. And also, if you head to the nature, we don't have dangerous animals that could attack people, or for example poisonous snakes and stuff, or alligators or sharks, stuff like that. And we also don't have natural disasters like volcanoes or earthquakes or stuff like that, so really safe. And I think most importantly, we don't really have dangerous neighborhoods here. So I often get the question like, Aleksi, what neighborhoods are safe? And I always say like every neighborhood is safe. So we don't really have these dangerous areas here. There are some areas that have maybe a little bit less, like worse reputation, but overall everywhere it is safe in my opinion. One of the most common examples I use, like if you're a single lady coming from the clubs, you walk on your way home, I would say 99.99% will be safe. Sometimes some drunk people can kind of like try to talk to you, but usually they are that dangerous. So what about the cons in terms of safety? Well, if we are quite safe country, there are some isolated incidents that happen. That can happen. For example, recently there was a really unfortunate school shooting. A 12-year-old child shot at the school, and unfortunately one life was lost. So these things can happen, but not really that often. But also one actually kind of true potential problem or like a con is the winter hazard. So in the winter it can get slippery, and there are people all the time there are people who slip up, they hit their head or their arm or foot, and they have to go to the hospital for that. So that can happen, but again, on the big picture it's quite manageable, and if you get these spiked shoes and stuff like that, you'll be fine. Also, one thing that is not really mentioned in the English media at least is that we do have some domestic violence, which is unfortunate. Of course, you don't really see it in the streets at all, but it is a problem to some extent. But again, I would say it's rare and you don't see it, so it's really like a luck dependent thing, but just wanted to throw it out there as well. How would I rank the safety in Finland? I would say 8 here, because it's really safe here overall. You'll be fine in most cases. Sometimes if you're unlucky, some stuff may happen, but that's like everywhere. But overall, Finland is a really safe country for everyone. So next, let's talk about employment opportunities, the job market. So first, for the pros, I would start with the very innovative part. So if we start with the pros, I would say there is a really innovative startup scene. So if you're a startup entrepreneur, you want to start a startup business, there are a lot of good systems and ecosystems built for that. A lot of government run programs. So if you need help getting the funding, need to help start the business, there's even a residence permit specifically for startup entrepreneurs. So in that sense, I think really good stuff. So the second pro I would say is that there's a really good labor union support. So there are these top level organizations that help the employees, so they will negotiate the collective labor agreements and help you if you have trouble at your home, if you need legal assistance, if your employees try to screw you or something like that. I have also, for example, once had to use the legal services from my union, but they are really well organized. The memberships are reasonable and tax deductible, so that is really important in my opinion. So what about the cons then? Well, first of all, there is a quite thick language barrier for most jobs. So if you don't know Finnish, quite fluently or well enough. And depending on your background, your field, your degree, it could be that you're in very challenging, tough situation, because there are a number of jobs that require good Finnish skills. Like if it's any like a customer facing role or something like that, then you're in a tough place. Of course, there are some fields that don't have the language requirement, like tech jobs in IT, because those companies operate fully in English. And also, I would say currently the job market is really tough. It's really difficult to find jobs, even for Finns. Like I got laid off like 2 months ago. Been looking for a job ever since, and based on the jobs what I've been looking for, there could be like hundreds of applicants per position. So really tough spot. Only not many jobs out there, but a lot of unemployed people who want to find a job. And I've also heard that foreigners are really struggling with this, because I've also mentioned this, that some years ago there was a research from a University of Helsinki where they tested whether if your name sounds too foreign, or like a foreign name, whether that affects your chances to get a look at this, like a nice looking car. On the red one over there. Just wanted to point it out there. But yeah, if you have a foreign name, some employers, Finnish employers, still are hesitant to even invite foreigners for an interview. Again, this is really like a industry specific thing, but it's just the truth. I need to change my hand just a second. And to add insult to injury, many jobs in Finland are hidden. So I heard that around 25% of all jobs are publicly available, so there's a job listing, and the rest are not public or unlisted or something like that. That means that the employers, they want to use their networks to find a suitable candidate, because the hiring processes are slow and expensive, and also like maybe finding someone from the networks they can trust that more. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but unfortunately a lot of these job opportunities you can even see because they're hidden. Okay, so how would I rank this? Well, unfortunately I'm gonna give it the shit tier, because it's really tough. It could be also really easy if you have the certain skills and background, but I think overall finding a job in Finland is challenging, not impossible. Okay, but let's balance it out with the work-life balance next. And I want to start with the pros again. And I think in Finland the working hours are really sensible. So a regular full-time job is like 37.5 hours a week. So it's like 7.5 hours a day. And also what I really like, that once you close your laptop, leave the office, you are not responsible to pick up any phone calls or answer emails. When you're done, you are done. And I really like that. So once your day is done, you can focus on your life, your family, your friends, your hobbies, and that is really good. Also, secondly, there's a really generous vacation time in Finland. So you can get anything between 25 to 30 paid holiday days per year, which is really nice. That's like 1 month or 4 to 5 weeks paid holiday. And in the public sector, you can get even more, but in the private, it's usually 25 to 30. That means you can... God damn it, these trucks. Thanks for ruining my speech. Yeah, the truck interrupted me, but point is, you will get lots of paid holiday to spend time with your family and friends again. So many of these cars. And by the way, in case you're wondering, this is the Finnish rush hour. As you can see, not that bad. Only a few cars here and there. Again, this next one is probably really dependent on the job type, but I would say that in Finland it's very common to have flexible work hours. So you can, if you want to start earlier and quit earlier, or start later and quit later, that's really possible. Of course, it depends on the type of job, but usually there's like many of these office jobs have that possibility. And here's one thing what I've personally really much enjoyed, is that usually the work is more result-based than time-based. So what I mean by that is that it's not really about how much time you spend on a task, rather than just getting it done. So in other words, you don't really have to spend crazy amount of hours, and instead, if you can just do it in a smart way and with lower amount of work, but as long as you just get it done, your boss will most likely be happy, and that's great. And yet another pro, we have a really low hierarchy. So if you see your boss at the job, you can say, hey man, what's up? You can just really talk them in a casual way like that. we don't use titles like Mr., Mrs. Or boss. That's out of the window. We just use the first name. Hey Antti, hey Aleksi. Even if they're like if it's like the CEO of the big publicly listed company, we can do that in Finland. Again, have to wait because the traffic. And I would like to hear your thoughts on this, but I was trying to think of some cons for the work-life balance, but I couldn't think of any. I think it's really good. Of course, if you have a shitty job you don't like, or if your boss happens to be an asshole, that could be the case. But overall, I think the work-life balance is S tier, the super tier, because it's just so good. You don't have to work like crazy. There's more other good stuff than work in life, and the employees appreciate it. Next, let's talk about. God damn it. Next, let's talk about the cost of living and taxes. Have to check my notes here. First pro I have here is the fair distribution of wealth. So we have progressive taxation, so it means the more you make, the more you pay in taxes. But it's just to kind of like even out the income gaps, I would say. And of course we use the tax money to support the society. I'm going to give you some examples soon. So we have really good quality of life in Finland. So we have, if we have the high taxes, we have excellent public services, including healthcare, education, social security, and just contributing to the quality of life overall. So we pay a lot in taxes, but we also get good stuff in return, I would say. Here's an interesting fact that is a pro. So in Finland, the taxes are filed you automatically. So currently when I'm filming this video, there's a tax season going on, and 95% of all the tax stuff you need to file will be done for you. So you get this pre-filled tax form, and you just need to see that, hey, is everything there and is it all correct? And you can also add some deductions there if they're missing. So it has been made easy to file taxes in Finland. So we pay a lot, but luckily it's easy to do. Unfortunately, we have a lot of cons here. We have high taxes and also higher prices, especially in the past years. The inflation has increased the prices quite a lot for housing, groceries, utilities, and everything. And especially the families with low income are in dire straits at the moment. And of course, I would also like to add that it's difficult to build significant wealth in Finland by just working, because the more you earn, the more you pay. And so you can't really, well, you can of course live nicely if you get a good salary, but getting like rich with work is not possible in Finland. The only real way to do that is starting a business, because the businesses have like lower taxes and stuff. But yeah, so if you wanna build significant wealth in Finland by working, I don't think it's the best option. I forgot to mention we have quite high value-added tax, 25.5% was just announced. High capital gains tax, that's like 30%, and so on. I would rank this section, the cost of living and taxes, C tier, because I mean we get also a lot, we pay a lot of in taxes, but we also get a lot of in return, and it really depends. Like of course I would rather maybe pay a little bit less in taxes, but I guess we're still happy, and I'm gonna rank this in the C tier. Next is about activities and hobbies, and I had to kind of stop down because I've been walking quite a bit and I'm out of breath. So first of all, I would like to mention as a pro the abundance of nature. For example, I'm here in a quite in a city place, but we have a lot of forest and nature very close everywhere where you go. We have the everyman's rights, which means that you can walk in any forest without permission, because that's just what it says. And of course then we have the Finnishness. There's a lot of cool Finnish stuff you can do. Saunas, ice swimming, there's art galleries, sports events, and much more. And I would also like to mention the community. So I think for every hobby you can find a community, like a hobby circle or a club or organization. So you just need to kind of find them. They probably will get you started in English, but of course learning Finnish will help you with that. But we have those communities available for you as well. And what about the cons? Well, of course, the seasonal limitations. We have 4 seasons, so if you're more in the summer person, then you cannot really do the summer stuff in the winter. So if that's something what you like to do. And also one con is like accessibility challenges. So if you live outside of the big cities, then of course they have lesser opportunities. So I would also rank this in C tier, because there's like a balance of pros and cons here. So what about social security and healthcare? Well, let's talk about pros. Well, the Finnish social security is pretty comprehensive. So if shit hits the fan and life kicks you in the ass, the system is really good. So there's a lot of coverage for healthcare, unemployment, disability, retirement, and also a lot of benefits for children with families, like child allowance and stuff like that. And of course the universal healthcare is available for all residents, including immigrants or foreigners. So trains. So if you move to Finland permanently, you will have also the same access to the healthcare services just like anyone else here. But there are also cons. So for example, currently the government is having big funding challenges because the population is aging, birth rates are declining, so of course the sustainability is a problem, or potential problem. And of course with the healthcare, the public healthcare can be slow, so the waiting times are long and it may take a while to get the necessary treatment. Okay, I had to find somewhere to sit because I can do multiple things at the same time. Business. How is it to operate a business in Finland? So first of all, I would say the formal process to start a business in Finland is actually super easy and simple. You can do it online within like 20 minutes or so, assuming that you know the name of your business and what type of business you will do and whether you need funding and so on. But the actual process to start it is actually quite simple. Secondly, there's a pretty competitive corporate tax in Finland. It's 20%. I heard like countries like France, the Netherlands, Italy and Germany have higher tax rates for a limited liability company. So I think that's a good pro. I also want to reiterate the good startup ecosystem here. So if you want to start a startup here, you are in good hands. A few cons though, of course the domestic market is really small, so if you want to do business with Finnish companies or Finns, we have only 5.5 million people in the country, so that can be small, but it's probably not the big problem because you always have to start somewhere. Also the geographical location, someone has said that we are in the ass of Europe, far away in the north, so of course logistically that can be a problem, depending of course the type of the business you have. If you are like this SaaS tech company where you just do everything online, won't be a problem. I would say also the language barrier could be a challenge to some extent, but again, depending what type of business you will do, it couldn't be a problem at all. And I would say the business aspect of Finland, I would rank it B tier because there's a lot of good stuff and a lot of support stuff to get everything going. That didn't make sense, but hope you get the point. Next, let's talk about the overall functionality of the Finnish society. Is it easy to get stuff here and live your life? So I would say the public services are quite efficient here. You can do many things online without having to go like there on the spot. Of course, at the beginning you kind of have to visit them in person, but once you get everything set up in Finland, you can actually do these things online and deal with the public services online. Also, I would say the technological innovation is also really good. So I already mentioned that you can do a lot of stuff online, but there are so many things you can do with mobile apps and electronically, and I think it saves a lot of time. For example, you can buy a home online, like without seeing the buyers or the seller. You just deal with the real estate agent. And whether it's like buying groceries, you can do it online. There you can of course pay bills online, and of course you can buy public transport tickets online. And the good thing is also that we don't really use cash nowadays, because you can just use contactless payment for everything. Also, one thing that's not really mentioned that often is the political stability. Like, we're not like America where the voters will storm the Capitol buildings and stuff. So politically we're a very stable country. Of course the governments will change and some governments make better or worse decisions or not, but like the stability is the name of the game. Now of course there are some cons. Like I mentioned in the beginning, there is like a lot of like this paperwork and stuff you have to get going. Even for example opening a bank account in Finland can be really pain in your sexy ass, especially if you come outside the European Union. And the thing that I already mentioned earlier is that if you live in the smaller cities or towns, of course the services and everything will be much worse there compared to the bigger cities. But overall I would rate the overall functionality in Finland solid 8 here, because I think everything just works, everything's good, and you can really focus on your life rather than the annoying like red tape stuff. Okay, what about the weather and the climate? Well, first of all, the pros, we have 4 distinctive seasons: spring, summer, fall and the winter, and it provides like a really varying like a life with different opportunities. Of course, in summer it's very nice, warm, you can go picnics and stuff. In the winter it's cold and dark, but you can do cross-country skiing, snowboarding, all these kind of cool things. And second pro is that we have really fresh air and clean environment. So if you, like for example, I'm here in the shopping center and you can see everything's just so posh and clean, and maybe also already saw that in the streets as well. Like everything is so clean and nice. But of course we have the cons as well. I mentioned the long and dark winters. That can really take and toll someone because it's cold. You have to get bigger and thicker clothes because there's less sunlight. It will affect your mood. Finns have more of the Finnish smile, looks like this. You know, yeah. So I would say that these two things are definitely a challenge, and I will rate the Finnish climate and weather D, just because I don't like the darkness and the winters myself. But if you're into that kind of stuff, it can be actually a really interesting experience for you. Ai moi!
No niin, mä en huomannut, mä vaan tuijottelin tohon suuntaan.
No niin, mä laitan tosta. This is actually cool because there's like automatic tracking. Nice. What about social life and finding friends? That's also important. There are a number of community opportunities here, different clubs for different interests and hobbies. We have also professional networking events, sports events, festivals. So there are a lot of these opportunities where you can actually meet people. And secondly, Finns speak good English, especially in the big cities, and overall, like I think 9 out of 10 people, if you stop in the streets, they can speak very good English to you. So that won't be a problem in terms of communication. And thirdly, I would like to mention that we Finns are kind of friendly and hospitable, so we may be a little bit shy at first, but once you just get to know us, we're actually really friendly and we can invite you to sauna and maybe for beers or make food together, so that's good stuff. But of course, we have a lot of cons as well with Finns. Like I mentioned, the initial reservations can be definitely a problem. You know, breaking that outer shell, and that we Finns are like coconuts, like hard shell outside, soft milk inside. So breaking that shell can be tough, and it can take time, and a lot of foreigners have mentioned that it's difficult to find Finnish friends here. But I've also heard a lot of success stories of people who have actually found Finnish BFFs, friends for life. Also, just one thing to add on, like I've noticed it myself, like if I go to a party or a social event, like the people just like to stick their own social circles, and for example, I have never seen that the host would actually come to like, hey, like meet this guy, and like, you know, they could like do this brief introduction, but they may like, okay, hello, but they don't really try to get to know you unless you're like a super like a celebrity or a high status person. So you kind of have to do the hard work yourself to find friends, but it's possible. Another problem with this is kind of like a follow-up or like a consequence of this is that many, especially expats and immigrants who move here, they kind of stick to with the other expats or immigrants or with their own nation, and they don't really get to they call it fall into trap just to hang with their own rather than trying to get to know Finnish friends. I kind of understand the problem because they kind of try it first and they notice, oh shit, this is hard, and then they just kind of like don't do it. Some people won't like this, but I also have to say that unfortunately there are this small group of people in Finland who just don't like foreigners. Like there are not that many of those, but we definitely have them, and if you just meet them, just ignore the idiots. Like that's like one of the wisdoms I like to share with you. So if you just happen to meet someone, like luckily we don't have like this verbal, like people would shout to you in the streets or the public transport. That's like super rare, but they may give you like some faces or maybe go sit away from you if you like these small things can happen, but it's just the truth. I'm gonna rank this the F tier, kind of like on the bottom, because it's difficult and it's all onto you. Like Finns don't come to you, so that's just the truth. If you want to make Finnish friends, you have to take action yourself. It's difficult, but not impossible. I think I'm gonna stick for this next one because I find a comfortable spot here. Dating. There are a lot of single people also coming to Finland, and dating Finns can be of interest. So let's cover that as well. So let's start with the pros. Like I would like to mention the gender equality first. So Finland is really like equal when it comes to dating, and relationships. So for example, men also clean and do like cook food and take out the trash and take care of the kids. And on the flip side, the women can also build on the career and work and stuff like that. So I think that's a really good thing. I really like it myself. And also one funny phenomenon of this is that people will split the bill on the dates. This can be if you come from a country where man always pays the bills, you could be like for a rude awakening here, because there are some ladies who will actually refuse. Like if you offer them to pay and rather to split the bills. Of course there are some individual differences, but this is what I would tell you at this point. I would also say like the diversity of the dating scene. So I would say in Finland the dating scene is kind of like open in that sense that there are different opportunities for different types of relationship, whether it's like just casual hookups or this like friends with benefit stuff, but there are also like long-term stuff and marriages. They're like, of course, people looking for that kind of stuff. So like everything's there. So I guess it really depends like what you want and what type of thing you're looking after. And I think it's important to also let them know because that there won't be these mismatches or like unaligned expectations. In my opinion, I think Finns are open to date foreigners. So I mean, dating with dates, I mean that they are already willing to go out to dates. Some people say that Finns, okay, they may want to just kind of experience dating a foreigner, but then they eventually form a long-term relationship with another Finn. Okay, that can happen. I think it makes sense to some extent, but I also know personally couples where there's a Finnish person and a foreign person. Every year there are like hundreds of marriages formed in Finland. There's like official statistics for that. So that's like a hard fact that you can actually find long-term partner from a Finn. I would also say that the dating culture is kind of laid back and like a casual, so that there's no really like these strict rules or taboos. So it's like a very casual, and I think that's also a good thing. What about the cons? Well, of course, again, I think that reserved nature is again a problem, because like how do you break the ice and get things started? So that can be a problem, because again, we Finns are kind of shy, especially unless we're drunk, like in the bars, and maybe in the social events people are a little bit social, but again, I think it's more up to you, and I really advise both guys and girls to take the first move. It's completely fine in Finland for the woman to take the first step in action. Please do that. And also another problem is that it's mostly online dating nowadays. So Finnish people are already kind of like shy from the outset. We're not really good at breaking the ice, especially in like a daytime situation. So most of the dating happens online. However, you can actually use this in advantage. So if you have confidence and you know how to talk to a guy or a girl, depending which one you're into, it's completely fine to, for example, here in the street or in the bookstore or maybe in the grocery store, to maybe give like a compliment and start it there. Like, I mean, some people don't like it, but some people are very like, wow, like this never happens, like from a movie. I have done it personally myself, like when I was, young, wild and single. No, I'm just like wild, I guess. But yeah, again, I think just go for it. It's numbers game. The more you approach, the more you have chances to get on dates. Next, raising a family, very important. How is that in Finland? Pros. Well, first of all, if you think about your children's education future, we have really high quality education system here. So you probably heard it's like a famous around the world. Not perfect though, but I think it's solid. And of course, it's free from the basic education all up to the master's degree. So if you have very young children and they're still growing up, by the time when they're grown up, they probably have a permanent residency, which means that they can go to the Finnish schools, tuition fee. I'm talking about universities, and they probably already have learned Finnish also by that time. So they are really well set up for the future in terms of education. Also, family-friendly policies, like Finland has so many these family-friendly things. Thinking about work perspective, we have very extensive parental leave. So they actually reformed the system. So now there's like 320 days in total, 160 for the mom and 160 for the dad. So perfect, both can take like 6 months of paid parental leave. Really good stuff. And of course there's like the Finnish baby box, the box which contains all essential items for the newborn. There's the child allowance and also the free neuvola system. So neuvola is this like a child clinic where you can go for free during the pregnancy and also after the child is born to see that everything's going well. Really well spent money. And also reiterating again this safety, you know, Finland is a really safe country to raise your kids, and I think they will be in good hands here. Also, some cons, again, some people don't like this, but I have to tell it because it's the truth. There is some bullying in Finland at schools. I have also been bullied back then, and I think it still happens. So again, this is like a luck thing. You could be that you never face any bullying, but again on the other side you could. Even Finnish kids get bullied, and if you're unlucky, it could happen. But overall, I'm gonna rate this the 8 here because things are so good in terms of raising the children, so you're in good hands. Another problem is the unintentional dumb foreigner mistakes a lot of people do. What are those and how do you get around those? Click this video next to find out.